What up, fam? Happy Tuesday. Happy first stream of the week. It's a day. I have my big plastic water bottle that I just struggled to open because my family is visiting. My mom and dad came to visit me for the first time in a really, really long time to my new place in Miami, in Florida. And unfortunately, the way timing just works out, their flight got delayed last night, so they didn't get until like 1 a.m. It was a whole thing coming back from the airport. Then they turned off my water last night because of like an emergency water leak, and now my water is going to be turned off until tomorrow afternoon. So just really bad timing to have your mom and dad come visit you in your new apartment where everything is super clean and wonderful and brand new. It's a whole thing. So we get comp nights at a hotel, which I guess is nice. Staycation for me, vacation for them. But it's been a day. Let me just tell you what. So had to go pick up the necessities this afternoon. I can't promise I'm going to look great tomorrow. Oops, as I hit the microphone. Because no showers in my apartment until tomorrow afternoon. We'll see. This could be like a multiple day thing. But I figured, stressful day, let's talk about a stressful topic that people don't like to talk about very much, and that's politics. It's been a while since we've had an actually political conversation on the stream, overtly about partisan politics. So I think it's time that we have some fun with it. We embrace the opportunity and we just lean into some chaos on a chaotic Tuesday afternoon. We are starting a little bit early today because we didn't stream yesterday. All of the chaos leading up to the chaos of today created a pretty crazy day yesterday. So I promised you an extra long stream today. An extra long stream is what you shall have, and we are concurrently live across platforms right now on YouTube, on Facebook, on Rumble, on Getter, and to our locals community. Hope everybody is having an amazing freaking day, and I am just so glad that all of you guys are here, that you're all having a phenomenal day, and that we're going to have some fun today. What do you guys say? I think it's going to be really fun. Before we even jump in, I want to give a huge shout out right at the top of the month to our amazing friends over at Public Square who are sponsoring this episode. Public Square, if you guys don't know, because there's a lot of you who are new around here. By the way, if you are a new first-time viewer on the stream, please let us know in the live chat. It is super fun for us to get to know you. But Public Square is a huge friend of the stream. They are an online marketplace of tens of thousands of small businesses all over the United States of America that support you and support your values. So you can feel really good about supporting these small businesses, everything from skincare to food to coffee shops to people to help you do your taxes and everything in between. Public Square is the place that you need to be. A bunch of you have said that you own small businesses and you have utilized Public Square since I've been dropping this link in our live chat, and it's created a whole new revenue stream and stream of business for you. So I'm dropping that link again. If you guys have a small business of any kind, you need to be on Public Square. Use that link to add your business. And if you guys are looking for other businesses as a consumer to support that share your values to replace your favorite sneakers or Starbucks or anything in between, Public Square is the place to be. Go to publicsq.com or download the app Public SQ on the App Store or on Google Play. All right, let's say hello to some people before we talk some politics. Jay is watching on Facebook from Minnesota. Jay, thank you so much for being here. Peggy is watching over on Facebook. We've got Steve, Josiah, Frostfang, Jack, my mom from the pool outside, LOL, Heath, Asiful Alam watching on YouTube. Altorna is watching on YouTube. We got a bunch of people watching on Rumble, but not very many people in the chat. Go ahead and say hi to us in the chat, you guys, if you are around. Rob Starkey is watching on Getter and says, Joy Reid makes stupid people look smart. You're going to love today's stream, my friend. TPUSA Faith Raising Lions is watching over on Getter and so many others. Our locals fam is incredibly active this afternoon. Alex is here. We've got MN19, and I'm pretty sure I know who you are. Remind me who this is, because I can't see your guys' actual names. I can only see your handles in the chat. So remind me your actual names if you have like acronyms or whatever. And a bunch of other people watching in our locals chat. Just as a reminder, after the stream, we do an exclusive Q&A to our locals supporters over on locals as part of this stream. So if you guys are not watching over on Locals, feel free to make the jump over there right now and join our community over there. It is a really fun place to be, and we will be taking some questions after the stream. All right. Let's just freaking go here because I have a lot to say and I'm having a very opinionated day, as you can tell. And we'll start with the big one, the big subject, and that is Joy Reid. You know, sometimes it just blows my mind how absolutely dumb people can be. Maybe it's just me, but The View is no exception to these things. And I feel like The View, I've said this before, kind of just sits around and says in the green room, what is the craziest possible thing that we could talk about today on the air to somewhat remain relevant to the internet and to the world of television news? Anybody have any thoughts about that? Interestingly, Joy Reid has now decided to take this beyond the set of The View and is now saying all of this on social media and has put together a 7-minute rant on why she thinks the Republican Party is at war with the rest of America. Now, I'll be totally transparent with all of you. I have been pretty outspoken about my frustrations as a conservative individual with the Republican Party as of late. Have I not? I've been very outspoken about these things on our live stream, in some short form videos, on social media, and in many other locations. But this video in particular is just so dumb that I feel the need to respond to it in kind. Because there's a difference between creating adequate response and frustration to the inaction of a political party or the misaction of a political party and just pulling BS out of your butt to try to remain cool on the internet. Joy Reid. For someone whose name is Joy, this is easily the most miserable human being in the United States of America today. I have no idea where she comes up with this crap, but it's awfully fun to react to, isn't it? We're going to watch. I'm going to pause and react and provide commentary throughout, but let me know what you think about Joy's assessment and take on the Republican Party in the United States of America today. Really quick, Josiah asked, how come you guys stopped doing Q&As on YouTube? We're going to do YouTube Q&As as standalone videos now, but we want to do Q&A every single day. We just want to make sure we have the most time possible outside of our Locals community where we do some of our supporter content. To talk about the stuff we actually want to talk about and have all of the subjects covered every day that we need to get to every single day. So that's why, but we are going to be doing a Q&A video on YouTube that's like its own standalone video. So stay tuned for that because I definitely want your guys' input on what we should talk about and what we should ask over there. All right, without further ado, the least joyful person on the internet, Joy Reid.
Listen, friends, you need to hear me. The Republican Party at this stage in its development is at war with the rest of us.
You can tell, by the way, that she's just completely bloviating and pulling all of this bullshit out of her butt because she keeps pausing. The Republican Party at this stage in its development. Like, she literally cannot express what she wants to say. Not that there's anything wrong with a pause, but the pauses are a little long is all I'm saying. Also, I know Nessie just said in our YouTube chat, Joy Reid saying something dumb? That seems about right. I'd be shocked if she didn't say something dumb. Yes, this is me basically saying, is water wet? Yes. But I think it's important that we react because a lot of people actually do think this way, sadly.
War with women. Okay. And women, if you think they're going to stop with just outlawing the abortion pill, you got another thing coming. When they're done getting a national ban on abortion, which is what they're going for.
I will say that's the one thing that I actually agree with this assessment on. We are going for a national ban on abortion because it's wrong, because it's the greatest human rights atrocity of our time. I don't think that that's a partisan political issue one bit. I think it's a human rights issue, but I would love to see that happen. I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon, but it's certainly worth exploring. Here's where she starts to lose me.
They're coming for your birth control?
No, we're not. Nobody is trying to make birth control illegal. Can anybody name one person who's trying to make birth control illegal? Birth control's really freaking bad for you. And we talk about that a lot in my content, but nobody is trying to make birth control illegal.
And when they're done with that, they're going to move on to LGBTQ rights?
No. Nope. Name one person.
They're coming for gay marriage?
Nope. Anybody? Anybody know anybody? Any Republican that's coming for gay marriage?
Think that you, if you're LGBTQ, but you're rich and affluent and Republican, that you're safe because they're coming for your rights too.
In other words, if you are gay or lesbian, or even just questioning what your sexuality is, yeah, you can't be Republican. That's literally not allowed. So sorry to the hundreds of thousands of gay Republicans that are out there. Apparently you don't really exist, fam.
They're coming for all non-white immigration because look, if they can force American women to give birth, who needs immigration?
What?
They'll just replenish the impoverished, desperate workforce with poor people. They force American women and girls, little girls, teenage girls, and younger to make.
So, just trying to unpack this in real time. I'll be honest, I have not watched the full 7 minutes, so I'm blind reacting to this right now. Trying to unpack this in real time. Apparently, Republicans are trying to stop all non-white immigration. No, they're trying to stop illegal immigration that's promoting criminal cartel behavior and illegal drug trafficking and illegal sex trafficking and illegal firearms tracking and just overall rises in crime across the board. But we're not trying to stop all non-white legal immigration. Even if we were, though, your reasoning for that is because non-white immigrants, legal or illegal, are the poor people in society, apparently. And without the poor people, Republicans just want teenagers to be forced to give birth, if they are pregnant, to replace the poor people. But Republicans are also the rich, affluent people, like you just said 2 sentences ago about the gay people. So if you're a gay Republican, you're rich and affluent. But if you are a non-white immigrant, you are just automatically a Democrat poor person. I just want to make sure I'm following the many directions of this conversation here. Okay. I think I'm following.
They're coming for workers' rights?
Nope.
Because once they have their population of low-wage workers, why give them any rights? Why give them...
Again, are you just automatically poor if you're not a Republican? That's disgusting and sad. And what a sad way to look down on people as you are this rich elite who hosts The View. And who was it again who was promoting workers' rights for the last several years when it came to forcing closure of small businesses or mask mandates or vaccine mandates? Anybody?
The right to unionize. Why give them any rights at all? Give them low wages and then give them nothing else. They're coming for education. Because the last thing you want is an educated workforce. Are educated people who know history and know enough about history to see what they're doing.
Nah, I think we just want to actually educate people instead of shove the lies of things like the 1619 Project that has been debunked over and over and over and over again by celebrated historians, both left and right sides of the aisle, by the way. I think we just want kids to go to school and learn math and not be told how to have anal sex in the 2nd grade while they're reading a pornographic library book at school. Or maybe not be handed a free condom in their Chicago public schools classroom starting in 5th grade at the bequest of Planned Parenthood. Call me crazy, but I feel like, maybe I'm just wrong, Republicans or conservatives might just want kids to actually learn something at school instead of turn into a mindless droid army of leftist authoritarians. I don't know.
They're coming for your books. They're coming for Black history. They're coming for Holocaust history.
What? your show was the same show that tried to insinuate that Republicans today, like those who attend conferences like Turning Point USA conferences, are the exact same as the Nazi Party. That was your show. And on the air, your co-host, Whoopi Goldberg, had to apologize for that. Who is blurring the lines of Holocaust history here? Who's redefining fascism? Who's twisting actual history? Who's openly promoting individuals that spew anti-Semitic rhetoric all over Congress and the internet and television? I don't know.
They're coming for the history of all non-white people, and they're going to erase it from our schools.
Who are the 9 white people? Oh, maybe she was saying non-white people. They're coming for the history of non-white people. No, I think we're just actually promoting the real history of non-white people instead of the New York Times garbage heap dumpster fire that is the 1619 Project. I love blind reacting to this. There's the long pause. She doesn't know what she's talking about. She needs enough time to be like, Republicans! What an idiot.
One thing that they will never do is protect a single child from getting slaughtered in school, because their only true worship is guns. They're going to allow as many assault weapons to flood our society and our schools as the gun manufacturers want to put out there.
Hi, babe. I see you watching from Israel. I hope you're getting as much of a headache from this video as myself. Apparently, this is news to me. Thank you, Joy Reid, for educating our society. The only worship Republicans have, true worship, is that of guns. So we are not interested in protecting children from getting slaughtered at school. Never mind the fact that it's often Republicans who are suggesting that people like you, Joy Reid, are regularly protected by armed security. Why should our kids not be protected by armed security? And maybe the FBI should spend more time investigating would-be school shooters because they know about it in advance, rather than tracking people like me for going to Catholic Mass on Sundays. And perhaps we are interested in protecting the other physical safety of children as well, like getting hormone prescriptions through Planned Parenthood at school without their parents' consent to become chemically castrated and physically damaged and infertile in their child years. I don't even know what to say about this. Okay, let's keep going.
And then they're going to demand that all of the people who they control, whether they give birth, who they control whether they can vote, who they control whether they can marry, whether they can see a drag show or perform in one.
No,
they're going to
just
force
kids.
Every single one of those people to subject themselves to constant risk of death. Getting shot down at school, at the Walmart, at the top supermarket, at the mall, at a parade, at a concert.
Okay, I also do want to correct for the record, Joy Reid is not on The View. She is as a guest regularly, but not a co-host. So I apologize. This goes to show how little I watch The View and why I literally don't care. So she is on MSNBC, I knew that. But I thought she was also like a temporary co-host on The View. So there you go. I'm correcting that for the record. Thank you, Jack, for asking us said question. But like, I just... look at this woman's eyes. We just need to take a break halfway through here because I don't know how else to we need a break. Got to digest some of this information as easily as we can. Does she seem like a joyful person to you? Look in this woman's eyes. And tell me in the chat, does she seem like a joyful person to you? Anybody? I don't know. I don't know, you guys. I don't think she seems joyful. Meisels Florida in our Getter chat says that she's stupid. TPUSA Faith Raising Lions says she's completely delusional. Yeah, delusional is a good word for this. Alex says she does not seem joyful. Troy says on our Rumble chat, my brain hurts listening to Joy. Yep. My brain hurts listening to Joy as well. You know, you just can't make this stuff up. They just can't help themselves, can they? I don't know. All right, we're about halfway through. Should we finish out the insanity? I love blind reacting to stuff like this because it's just insane. Nessie says, do not stare into those crazy eyes like you don't stare into the sun. Here's my best impression. Ready? Yeah, that's about right. All right, here we go.
Walking down the street, 3rd grade, 4th grade, 12th grade, they don't give a damn how many people die. They're coming for Black power.
What?
You think they're going to stop with what they did in Tennessee? Florida Republicans are already studying that and saying we can do the same thing. You think they're going to stop by just evicting troublemaking Black lawmakers in one state? Anyone who displeases them is on the menu. So if you don't comply, they'll just throw you out of your state house.
By the way, if you don't know what happened with the Tennessee 3, you should probably go look it up. I'm all for free speech, but they didn't get thrown out because of violating free speech. They got thrown out because they violated their rules of their own state legislature. And coming from a world of student government and speech and debate where we would pretend to be a legislature, there's all kinds of stuff with Robert's Rules of Order and Parliamentary Procedure that you have to follow. It's called decorum. It's basically how government works. If you can't follow the rules, maybe you shouldn't have run for office.
They want one-party state. They're coming for our literal freedom.
What?
Our freedom of movement. This law that says that in Idaho you can't leave your state to get abortion care. Well, I mean, what will it matter now once they make the pill illegal everywhere? They're coming for blue states. They don't care if you live in a state where you have liberal government and where you have a liberal population. They sure don't care about that in Nashville. They want every state to comply. They want to turn every state into their white Christian nationalist hell that they control.
What?
And then they're going to curtail your voting rights so you can't undo it.
In other words, they're going to ask you to show your ID when you vote so that we can know that it's you. That's this removal of voting rights.
If we don't wake up, and now I want to really talk with my white sisters, because you all are still voting 60-40 for them. You're still letting them control you and your body.
No, I'm letting them empower me and tell me that I can be a mom and also accomplish all of my other dreams.
States like Texas, in states like Tennessee, in states like Florida.
You know, I'll be honest, you guys, I'm in Florida right now. My parents are visiting the beautiful state of Florida where I just moved. They make Florida sound like this horrifying dystopian nightmare, this white Christian nationalist hell, as she would describe it. It's pretty damn great. People do their own thing. Nobody seems to mind where you're from, what language you speak, what your religion is, who you voted for. People are just happy. They smile at you. They hold the door open for you. They talk to you. That's the kind of place that's hell. Maybe she should come down here and get some Florida sunshine.
Your daughters aren't so much. Because young white folk, they don't figure it out.
Imagine if somebody said that reverse.
They're now voting majority Democratic because they understand when they vote that the only solution to the extremism of the modern day Republican Party is for them to lose. If they don't start losing elections, and I mean everywhere, from dog catcher to state house to state senate to school board to Congress to the presidency, until they lose all of it and they are stripped of power, they are never going to moderate.
So in other words, I'm here in my batwing eyelashes that I could just take off flight from every time I blink, and my pink sweatshirt to seem appealing and relatable rather than through the screen on MSNBC. To tell you that this evil political party, this fascist political party exists in America today that wants a uniparty. They want a one-party state. They want to take away your freedoms. So the only way we can stop that is by stripping them of all their rights and power and creating a one-party state and making sure people can only have the freedom to choose one way of thought. Is water wet? Yes. Are you literally telling me exactly the game plan for the Democrat Party while pointing the finger at the Republican Party? Yes. It blows my mind that these people are so far up their own butt that they can't look in the mirror and acknowledge that that is exactly what their own side is doing. I'm very animated today. But for the love of God, every single thing that this woman just told you, slaughtering children, let's talk about abortion. Making sure children aren't safe in school. Who's promoting armed security guards at school? What party? Trying to make sure kids are properly educated so that they can be successful and honoring real history. Promoting your freedoms. Standing up for workers and small businesses. Actually empowering women. Am I just being this gaslit that I need to just keep talking in circles? Because every single time someone like this opens her mouth, they are gaslighting me into thinking that a conservative viewpoint and a traditional values viewpoint is this evil, authoritarian, fascist state by giving me example after example after example after example, when every single one of those examples in real life are what they're doing. I can't. We have less than 2 minutes. Do you think I can make it through the rest of this horrifying video?
But if they lose, if you are a Republican and you care about your party, the only solution to their extremism is for them to lose. When they lose enough elections and they lose enough power and they lose control of enough states, they will moderate. And then we will have two normal political parties again.
Translation, we will have the uniparty, which is what we have in Washington, D.C. right now. Do I really want that? No. I would rather live in a country where it's harder to win elections and it's harder to win over people, but at least you give people the freedom to choose their own path and to make an educated decision on who they're voting for, rather than two parties that say the exact same thing with a different color tie on.
And I'm not saying this because the Democrats are outstanding or perfect, but they're normal.
I'm sorry. I can't. I can't. The Democrats are normal. Oh, and she's about to say, and they don't want total control over your womb. Yes, they do. Why do you think they're going into designer babies and artificial womb facilities and transplanting wombs into men? They want complete control over your womb. Oh my God. Am I insane? Maybe I am. Maybe sanity is insane today because normalcy has become extremism, as we talked about last week. So maybe I really am insane, according to modern cultural standards. You're telling me the normal people want to castrate children chemically and surgically before they go through puberty. That the normal people genuinely believe America was founded on the principle of slavery. You're telling me that the normal people think it's okay to limit personal freedoms by mandating certain vaccines and things that you have to wear on your face, regardless of what you personally think or believe about those things, or even if the science lines up. but that the other people are the ones limiting freedom. You're telling me that you don't want to live under a uniparty, but the only way to stop extremism is to take away any party from the people who think differently than you. To take away all of their power. To make sure they lose every election. You're telling me that you want to promote freedom, but take away free speech. Because that's hurtful and hateful. And that you empower women, but that you tell women it's impossible for her to succeed unless she kills her child out of an inconvenience. Or steps aside for a biological male, for all that matter. That's totally normal. That's so empowering for women. Super normal. Super healthy. That it's better for me to eat lab-grown meat than to go eat a cow. That's normal. I don't know.
And they don't want total control over your womb, and they're willing to protect you from gun violence and gun death and gun massacres. So all I have to say is this, especially my...
All I have to say is this, but I've spent the last 6 minutes and 16 seconds lecturing you. I think you just like to hear yourself talk.
Young folks, you need to register to vote. And you need to vote in every election, off year, on year, local, state, national, all of them. And you need to vote them all out.
Because we love freedom of choice. And we love freedom to think clearly and choose for yourself. And we love diversity, but not of opinions. But we'll tell you that we love diversity of opinions. And we love living in a free, open, inclusive society. Unless you think differently than us. And then you evil fascist authoritarians, we're going to strip away all of your power and make sure that it's impossible for you to ever win another election again. Because freedom. I could be a spokesperson for the Democratic Party. Notice how I said person.
Even the nice ones. You think, this is a Republican, I like them, they seem nice, vote them out. Because until that party begins to lose on an epic scale, they can't moderate because they are captive to a base that is so extreme, that is so Christian nationalist, that they can't be fixed.
Nah.
Until they lose. The Republican Party is at war with the rest of us. The Republican Party is at war with the rest of us. They have embraced white Christian nationalism and extremism. And the only way to fix it is they gotta lose. It's DEFCON 1, y'all. We damn near in Gilead. Wake up. Wake up. Take action. And stay woke.
Stay woke. Stay woke, y'all. Folks, it's DEFCON 1. I just want you, before we go back to our other scene here in the streaming software, take one long last look in those joyful eyes. Does this seem like a normal person to you? A healthy person? An open-minded person? A happy person? Anyone? Does she seem like she's really grounded in the things that she believes in? No. So that was a good laugh. Wow, that was just real fun to react to blind for the first time. But why does it matter? Why do we even waste the time? I don't think it's a waste, but why do we take the time to even talk about this stuff to begin with? What's the point? What's the point? The really sad reality is I saw this video because it was trending on Twitter today. It originally blew up over on TikTok, as you saw from the little watermark that was running around there. I saw this video trending on Twitter, and every single person that had tweeted this video was in complete, entire agreement with what she said. Could not have been more spot on. Nailed it. Perfectly explained what's going on in our country. This is why we have to vote. The unfortunate reality is common sense is not a norm. Critical thinking is not a norm in the United States of America today. We know that. We see that every single day. It's how we have gotten to live in the upside down that I call 2023. So the really unfortunate, sad reality is videos like this that fearmonger and straight up lie and project every horrible thing that radical leftists are doing in America to turn us into an authoritarian, autocratic, fascist society that they're blaming everyone else for, these videos are really, really effective. And they scare people. And if we've learned anything from the last several years, fear-mongering works. If you don't sit here and listen to a 2-hour live stream of Isabel Brown, or even a 15-second video of mine doesn't pop up in your For You page on TikTok, and not just me, a ton of other creators as well who are willing to have these conversations, you probably genuinely do believe, because of controlled media corporations, controlled environmental aspects of your education, of who's teaching you and what information you're being exposed to in the classroom, controlled entertainment media, controlled social media algorithms, controlled government press releases, you probably genuinely believe that this is actually what conservatives, not just the Republican Party, and again, I have my fair share of complaints about the Republican Party right now. I've been very outspoken about those things. About what conservatives believe. You will fall for the lie that conservatives just want all women to die a gruesome death because she's forced to give birth instead of have a baby or be a mom or accept the consequences of having sex. You probably genuinely believe that conservatives want to silence you, to throw you in prison if you say anything that doesn't fit the agenda, that we are creating bonfires of books at every red state capital all across the United States of America, that we're going to get rid of gay marriage, which, again, can literally anyone name a mainstream conservative in a position of power that's actually trying to do that, or take away birth control from a legal perspective, rather than telling you from a cultural perspective, hey, that's actually like really bad for you. That conservatives want a uniparty when we're actively the ones fighting against a uniparty in Washington, D.C., that we're taking away your freedom somehow and trying to prevent poor people from becoming more successful. Never mind, of course, the fact that capitalism as an economic system has lifted more people out of poverty than any other system in history. I don't know how far these people can go in the projections and the lies before it comes full circle on them, or if it ever will come full circle on them. I think we're probably just going to keep descending into countless further levels of chaos way before anything ever gets better, if it ever does, before Jesus comes back, in my opinion. But what's the point? The point is we have to fight lies with truth. Because if independent creators don't take it upon ourselves to watch this crap and debunk it, point by point by point, these lies, projections, and conspiracy theories become the mainstream. And they have for decades upon decades in the United States of America today. I often hear my parents talk about when they went to law school or when they were roughly my age that you were encouraged to have a diversity of opinion, to play devil's advocate, to ask people what their perspectives and opinions were, and to regularly challenge your own perspectives and opinions. They don't know how someday we woke up and got here. But it's actually not very complicated to understand. Good people who believed in objective truth, regardless of whether you're a liberal or conservative or you vote Democrat or Republican, sat down and shut up and were silent when absolute freaking psychopaths have taken it upon themselves to turn lies into truth and truth into lies. And project every horrible thing that radical leftists want to do to this country on the right. And it's working. It's working really, really well. Unless we're willing to call this stuff out for what it is when we see it, we cannot expect to win a culture war. I see far too many good people, again, regardless of partisanship, say, that stuff is just fringe, it's just crazy. If we just ignore it, it's going to go away. That is not true. It doesn't go away. It festers in the darkness, it grows, it gains traction, and then slowly but surely, it becomes the mainstream, to the point that a decade from now, we'll wake up in America and ask ourselves, how the hell did we get here? Are we really willing to play that bet? Or are we willing to fight things now as we see them when they come out and drag them into the light from the darkness? It's a fair question. I, for one, am on offense. I choose to play things where they are at in real time instead of refuse to give them a platform or refuse to acknowledge them. Knessi, I don't know how I'm saying this right, on our YouTube chat has a really good point. I'm a liberal, but the woke left has moved the goalpost so far off a cliff that now I am a conservative. There's a lot of people who feel the exact same way as you do, and that's why it's important for us to have these conversations, because honestly, I don't even think it is about right versus left or Republican versus Democrat or conservative versus liberal anymore. I think we are in a fight for America from all the people in power and everybody else. And we're going to see that unfold in a really interesting, intense, powerful way in the next few months leading up to the next major presidential election. My opinion on that is pretty controversial if you want to have a big platform in politics. I have not gained a lot of friends from it. I've not gotten the invite to be on the RNC's youth council, if we're being honest, although I've been recommended by many, many, many people to be on the Republican Party's youth council. Instead, I'm just here. So we'll keep having these conversations ourselves, and we just have to keep sharing these things and getting the message out there and trying to fight back in any way that we can. Oh man, you guys, what a time to be alive. Let's see what you say in the locals chat. Alex says, this is what my content will gravitate towards, debunking all the lies of the left. Alex, I'm so excited that you are going to start live streaming sometime soon. If any of you guys have questions on how you can start live streaming and creating content like this, please, please, please reach out. I am a huge advocate for every single one of us becoming our own independent content creators. The world needs a dissemination of information away from controlled media, and that starts with every single one of us. So if you guys ever have questions, feel free to send me a DM, and I would be very, very happy to help you in any way possible. TB Ghosted is saying I'm based. 2 thumbs up over in the Rumble chat. Thank you so much. You the best. Although the FBI is probably already listening to us and they have flagged that word as an extremist word. So hello to my FBI agent. African Warlord says I miss the 90s. I don't even remember the 90s, and I miss the 90s, African Warlord. So I feel you over in our locals chat. MN19, I remember who you are. You're Daniel Maynard. I'm so happy you're here. Thank you for joining us over on Locals. You say, it's the fight of good versus evil now, and I make no bones about it. The people in power are evil, pure and simple. It's a pretty fire take, and I wish more people were able to look at things the way that you were able to look at this conversation. M-Rock says over on Locals, right, Isabel, keep the message out there, and it must be shared. I'm afraid we will never go back to normal, whatever that was. I don't think we will go back to normal, whatever that was, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. I think that means we have the opportunity to change the narrative. We don't have to go back and watch cable news to understand what's going on in the world. We don't have to continue living in a 2-party system that's really a 1-party system without any accountability from our politicians that have been in office twice the time we've been alive and have refused to act on any of the things that they have promised to every 2, 4, or 6 years for the last several decades. We don't have to go back to a time where power is centralized. As much as these things are annoying and drive us crazy and technology can be used for bad, it's also a tool that's allowing us to control the narrative and to embrace independent commentary and media and news. And I have never been more fired up to be an independent content creator than I am right now, because this is the future of how people are going to be having these important conversations. Let's see what you guys think on Getter. Aussie Man says, I'm so tired of the Democrats trying to make me the bad person. Facts. Absolute facts. We love to see it. A lot of people in our chat on Getter are saying Republicans are dropping the ball. That's a really interesting takeaway from this video. MCP says, Izzy, your show is too early to watch for a blue-collar worker. I'm so sorry, you guys. We chose this time because most of you really seem to like it the best. You never have to watch in real time. It's always more fun that way, but you can always go back and rewatch these streams in a replay at any time that you absolutely want to. So we will try to make this as accessible to as many people as possible, but we hope that you are able to watch in any time that works for you. Gerald says she forgot to say, you will eat the bugs and you will be happy. Yeah, no bugs for me, please. I will take a nice medium rare steak. Please and thank you, and we will move on from there. So that's not the only crazy story that was trending on social media today. The Surgeon General appeared on CNN, and of all people and all networks, CNN took it upon themselves to ask the Surgeon General some pretty tough questions about mask mandates and where the science may have been misdirected with mask mandates. Let's check it out.
But while I have you, I want to ask you about something Dr. Fauci said recently, because we were talking about the pandemic. Did an interview with the New York Times, and he talked about masks. Mm-hmm. He said, quote, from a broad public health standpoint, at the population level, masks work at the margins, maybe 10%. But for an individual who religiously wears a mask, a well-fitted KN95 or N95, it's not at the margin, it really does work.
Okay, let's just remember that. Because now the CDC is saying that if you wore masks quite frequently, it didn't really do anything to stop COVID. And other studies are starting to say if you wore masks religiously, like all the time, who religiously wears a mask, just like Dr. Fauci, the science has told us, you had all kinds of risk for other problems like bacterial infections, cognitive decline. It's an interesting one that maybe our Surgeon General should be looking into as the physician to the president, or even loss of sperm count and more.
Do you see how some find this an extremely significant statement? Because for most of us, we were told it didn't matter what kind of mask. Mm-hmm. Any mask was good. Our kids had to wear masks for an extra year and a half in school, and none of them wore them the right way. That hearing that, maybe good that he's saying it, but that hearing that is upsetting to a lot of people?
Of course it's upsetting. We were forced to wear these things on our face to go to work or sit on an airplane or send our kids to school. If you were smart, you just said, hell no, I'm not doing that. But of course it's upsetting.
Well, I can certainly understand that for many people who were listening closely to the messages that were coming through and guidance as to what to do, when they recognize that sometimes guidance shifted and evolved over time, that could be disconcerting. And sometimes the guidance does evolve over time as you learn more.
But did it though? Because I'm pretty sure we knew way up front. I studied biomedical sciences. I got my public health degree for graduate school from a lot of the top people at the WHO and the CDC. That wearing masks all the time like this isn't really that effective, particularly if it's not an N95. So did the science change, or did our political acceptance of the science change?
And I certainly remember, even though I was a private citizen the first year of the pandemic, but I was watching closely, and we were learning a lot as a country about the pandemic, and guidance shifted accordingly. But look, one thing I think that we all have to recognize is this pandemic has been incredibly hard for a lot of people, especially for kids and for parents. And, you're a parent, I'm a parent. We both lived through some of these challenges and are still trying to help our kids through them. But one of the challenges our kids have endured is, in fact, greater loneliness and isolation. And my hope.
And, by the way, loss of social adaptation in many, many social societies. We're losing social skills with the next generation of our kids. They're not able to articulate to adults what's going on in their life or to their peers how to be social. It's horrifyingly sad, and it's all because of masks.
With our new advisories, we can lay out a pathway. We, in fact, lay out the first framework for a national strategy to address loneliness that gives everyone, kids and parents, families, government, and community organizations, steps they can take to build a more connected America.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
What do you guys think about that? Because I'm dying to know. Seemed like a massive non-answer to me from our Surgeon General of the United States, particularly as more stuff continues to come out about how regular religious mask wearing was really detrimental and devastating to your health in many, many, many ways. I don't know, but I tell you what, I am tired of hearing excuses for our lack of health as a society in the last several years because the science just changed. Science does evolve, and it does change. But the only way that it does that is if we actually allow for a difference of opinion and asking the big questions, making a hypothesis. then doing all of the research, then coming to the conclusion. Not the BS backwards scientific method that we've been living through for the last several years, saying, this is the science, this is what we're doing, it doesn't matter if we have no evidence to support it, it is an emergency, and that's what we're doing. And now slowly, 3 years later, the truth starts to come out. I don't know if we'll ever get answers to some of these things. I sure hope we do. But I think it's going to take a lot more investigating and prodding than we realize. Last thing I want to talk about is some breaking news today that former President Donald Trump is going after Kayleigh McEnany, the former White House press secretary, for supporting, allegedly, on social media, Ron DeSantis. From what I understand, and you guys might know more about this story than myself, so if you know anything about this that I don't know, because I just found out about this story right before the stream, essentially, Kayleigh McEnany said something nice about Ron DeSantis and announcing for president, whether he should or should not announce for president. Keep in mind, Kayleigh McEnany was formerly the White House press secretary, had an unbelievably illustrious career as Trump's White House press secretary, was the press secretary for the 2020 campaign of Donald Trump for president. And I guess she said on Fox News today, how can you wait to announce when you are currently the hottest governor in Republican politics? I think that's a really fair thing to say. You will get your moment as a governor, as a candidate, as an individual that you really have the obligation to seize. You can't run for president just anytime. There is a specific window when every single person who has ever been elected to president of the United States has appropriately announced that they are running for president, and they've taken opportunity and advantage of the current situation that they are in. Ron DeSantis is having his moment. And I think we all knew that for the last several years. Again, regardless of what you think about Trump, regardless of what you think about your preferred nominee for the 2024 presidential election, or what party you're voting for, or if you're voting or anything, we can talk about all of our opinions about that later. But just from an objective political strategy standpoint, most people assumed that President Trump would have 2 terms back-to-back in office, that he would be elected in 2016 and reelected in 2020, and then someone like a Ron DeSantis would become the nominee for the Republican Party in 2024. Obviously, that's not what happened. President Trump is not president at the exact moment in time that we thought he was going to be. And now the exact same window and period of time that people expected Ron DeSantis to become a nominee for the Republican Party based on his unbelievably successful track record here in my new home state of Florida, creating essentially a utopia that people are flocking to left and right. 1,200 people a day are moving to the state of Florida because of what's happening here economically, politically, and culturally that people want to be a part of. And like I said earlier, when we were unpacking Joy Reid's bizarre little rant there about conservatives in America, every place that I have been in Florida so far, I am shocked in the most positive way by. People are kind, people are friendly, people don't care where you came from, they don't care what your ethnicity is, what your sexual orientation is, what language you speak, what religion you practice. They want to be free. And it feels like what many people explain to me as what the 90s in America felt like. Was it African Warlord that said in our locals chat, I miss the 90s? That's what I'm living through right now in Florida right now is what I anticipate or what I expect the 1990s felt like in the United States of America. And that's a special, beautiful feeling that we should be celebrating. If you're thinking objectively about political strategy, not what your personal opinion on who should run for president is, it makes sense in 2024 for a Ron DeSantis to announce that he's running for president of the United States. This is that window, that moment that it does make sense. It might not make sense 4 years from now. That's a long time, a really long time. And since people have been talking up Ron DeSantis as a potential nominee for president for the last 4 years, politically speaking, I think it's fair to expect that he is going to announce a run for president and that he would do a damn good job as president of the United States based on what's happening in Florida, the Florida blueprint that we talk a lot about. So Kayleigh McEnany, who has been unbelievably loyal to President Trump, was his press secretary, was the press secretary for the 2020 Trump campaign, has said nothing but unbelievably positive things about former President Donald Trump and staked her own reputation on Donald Trump. Now says, as somebody who grew up in Florida, who loves what's happening in Florida, and loves my governor, he's the hottest governor in America right now. That's true. He's being branded as America's governor. Says on the air on Fox News, how can you wait when you are currently the hottest governor in Republican politics? Fair question. And Donald Trump responds by putting a post out on Truth Social, which is not the most effective way to reach the people, to impact culture, right? If you want to change culture, you have to go where culture is. I'm a big believer of that. We say that all the time outside of the lens of this conversation. And says, I guess Kayleigh is no longer speaking so favorably about DeSanctimonious now that his polls are shot. Which makes absolutely no sense. Because A, he's not doing very bad in the polls, particularly because he hasn't even announced that he is running for president of the United States yet. He's not even an official candidate. So any polling that's being conducted on the subject is not a reliable poll. Period. End of story. About how people feel about potential candidates running for office for the Republican nominee for president. And somebody articulated it really well on Twitter. Trump apparently feels that McEnany, who grew up in Florida, was favoring his presumed primary rival, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, until I guess he began to struggle in the polls. Look, I don't know what's going to happen in the primaries in the next several months. I don't know how the Republican Party is going to respond to a really crowded primary, and it's getting more crowded by the day. We've got Vivek Ramaswamy, we've got Nikki Haley, Larry Elder has now announced, Donald Trump, presumably maybe a Ron DeSantis will announce, I don't know when, that he might be running for president, and there could be more. Mike Pence still question whether or not he's actually going to announce whether he's running for president. Mike Pompeo has stepped out, but there probably will be other people who make the same announcement. Regardless of what your support is or is not for any potential candidate as the Republican nominee, why would we want a less crowded stage when we say we support freedom of speech and more ideas to create the best policies and the best platform possible? This defensive, angry, holier-than-thou thing that is going on with way too many candidates, not just from the Republican side, but on the Democrat side as well. It's why they canceled all of the primary DNC debates, because Joe Biden doesn't want to have to defend his record against anybody else, has got to stop. When any politician or elected official or candidate suggests that it's better to not have a crowded primary or not have primary debates or not have debates at all because they're the right person for the job, no ifs, ands, or buts, and you need to get on board or you're not a real conservative. You're not a real Republican. You're not a real Democrat, apparently, if you want to see a literal conversation or a literal debate. These people have shown me over and over and over again that we need to demand more. We need to demand better. And I love former President Donald Trump. I literally, right over here in my bookshelf, you can't see it because we're zoomed in, I'm wearing a MAGA hat on the cover of Newsweek magazine. I worked for the Trump administration as an intern. I am a big Trump supporter, okay? I haven't decided what I'm going to do in the 2024 primaries because I don't know the whole situation yet. That's a long way away. Not everybody has announced their candidacy for president yet. And I want to see a real conversation and a real debate about where we are today. Not in 2016 America, not in 2020 America, in 2024 America. The angry, divisive, finger-pointing, finger-wagging, eyebrow-curling culture that I'm seeing from conservatives and Republicans today about you're not a real conservative if you don't automatically do the exact same thing that you did a decade ago. Almost a decade ago. In voting for the same people and making the same decisions and doing the same platform, we live in a different world today than we did a decade ago. Don't we owe it to ourselves to at least have a conversation or to celebrate good governance when we see it? Kayleigh McEnany suggesting that it makes political sense for Ron DeSantis to run for president is not her saying that Donald Trump is the worst thing that ever happened to America, or that she hates him now, or even that she's not going to vote for him. That's not saying that at all. It's simply making an objective political observation. And I think we owe it to ourselves to figure out where we're at in 2023 and 2024 and evaluate some things in what we're looking for as our nominee. That could be Donald Trump. That could be Ron DeSantis. He hasn't even announced yet, so I don't know. That could be somebody else. I don't know. But I'm getting really sick and tired of nicknames like DeSanctimonious and suggesting that we shouldn't have a crowded primary, or we shouldn't even celebrate good governance when we see it, when we need to celebrate good governance when we see it. We need to encourage more people to embrace this style of the Florida blueprint. Attacking somebody because you don't want them to run against you for president is not a successful strategy to impact the culture of America at large. Right? If we want the culture of America at large to become better, to embrace more traditional values, why wouldn't we uplift and encourage people like Governor Ron DeSantis so that other governors can follow suit and adapt an offensive, fearless strategy for what the future of America should look like? It's working with Sarah Sanders in Arkansas. It's working in places like Idaho and Utah. Why can't we do that everywhere? Does everything have to be about the presidential election? Because that's a pretty narrow-minded viewpoint of what we need to be doing on offense to fight for the political future of the United States of America. That's my 2 cents on the issue. You guys could not hate any particular candidate. You could actually hate any particular candidate. That's not the point of this conversation. The point is, I think we owe it to ourselves to have a real conversation about what we're looking for out of any candidate. And we're not getting that from the DNC side because they canceled all of the primary debates. So good luck ever hearing the platform of a Bobby Kennedy when Joe Biden refuses to even debate with anyone. And by the way, they'll cancel the regular debates too. They'll come up with some reason that it's just a national security issue or something. Now, from the RNC perspective, we're suggesting that we need a narrower field and less people need to announce, and let's just attack everybody up front so that they don't have the opportunity to run. Why? Isn't that adopting the same tactics as the left? Time for us to demand better. It's time for us to be better. And it's time for us to courageously and boldly speak and share the truth on offense for the future of American culture. All right, you guys. Wow, what a stream. I love talking politics with you. We haven't done that in a hot minute, but it is very fun for us to do every once in a while. We are jumping over to locals for our post-stream Q&A for members of our locals community. If you guys want to join us, we would love to have as many of you there as possible. We've got some stellar locals specific content coming to you in our community this week as well, including a fascinating conversation that I pre-recorded last week with a friend of mine who's Catholic and a friend of mine who is Protestant about what misconceptions are existing as Catholics and Protestants view each other and why church unity is important moving forward in America and around the world. Super interesting episode of our series Domus coming on Thursday, as well as a new episode about Dated coming this week as well. All of that lives exclusively over on Locals. So I dropped the link in our chat for you guys to join us for our post-stream Q&A. We do have a hard out at 4 p.m. Eastern because I have a Zoom call at 4 p.m. Eastern, but we're going to go for the next 18 minutes over on Locals, trying to take as many of your guys' questions as possible. Thank you all so much for being here. Before we go, on all of the platforms that you are watching on right now, do me a huge favor and hit the subscribe or the follow button. And if you have the opportunity to repost in the platform that you're watching, Facebook or Getter, please do so. It means the absolute world to us. I am a total independent content creator. What you see is in the spare bedroom of my apartment. Nobody is paying me to say any of these things. We really go out of our way to provide honest, genuine, authentic commentary in real time from an honest Gen Z perspective. So if you like what you are hearing, if you want more people to hear it, it means the absolute world to me if you hit that subscribe or follow button. It makes a huge difference in my life. As always, huge shout out to any of you that always donate in our super chats. It makes such a difference in my career as an independent creator, and we can get better equipment and have the opportunity to grow all of our streams and our channels across platforms. Love you all so, so very much. If you are watching anywhere else, goodbye. Jump over to Locals. Locals, don't go anywhere. We will be right back, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.